What's up, guys? Larry here, innovative.com. Thanks for tuning back in. Here to talk to you about brands today, branding, how to brand your music or your business. Doing this on the Las Vegas Strip, mainly because it's filled with different brands. You know, as you can see across the street, extremely bright right now, we have a lot of different brands here. You have McDonald's, Walgreens, there's Taco Bell, there's a Subway. Planet Hollywood is where it's connected to. A lot of different things, and you kind of wonder, you know, how do you brand yourself? How do these things stick out from one another, all being food, all being similar to each other? You know, what is a brand? So I'm going to take you around the strip, kind of talk to you, and kind of explain to you what a brand is. It's what people think about you when you leave your room, when you leave the room. You know, what do they say about you? Let's think of a Nike sign. You know, when you see a Nike sign, what do you think of? You think of sneakers, think of clothes, think of health, athletics. You know, they have people like LeBron James and some of the best people in the world that are sponsored with them. You know, that's their brand. It's not just a logo. You know, logos are attached to brands, but your logo, it helps represent your brand and identify your brand. It's one piece. It's like a slogan or also a name. The main thing about branding, being a musician, it's not just your music or how you dress. It's actually you. So think about someone like Kanye West. You know, what do you think about when you think of Kanye? Think about someone like Tomi Lahren. You know, people know her from Facebook. What kind of emotions stir up in you when you think about her? You know, that's her brand. It's not just what she does. You want to make sure that you take control of your brand, and you also want to take responsibility as well. It's your job to make sure you brand yourself the right way. If you do have a team, you know, work with your team. But take responsibility for your own actions and take responsibility of what you can control. If people tell you something all the time, if they're talking about you and they say you're always late, or you always smell good, or that guy always has great lyrics, then it's probably true, good or bad. If there's something bad that people say about you all the time, well, go ahead and change that. If you're a female, sometimes if you're a strong female, they may say, oh, she's a bitch. You know, change that. Not say don't be strong, but you don't want people to see you in a negative light. So go along with that, we're gonna talk about brand identity. Basically, your brand identity, it's when you hear a song, when you hear certain music, if you hear lyrics, you see a video or a logo, and you recognize it, that's brand identity. That's bread. A good way to think about brand identity is to think about cattle, especially back in the old days. You know, you have cattle, you have farmers, and they would actually brand the animals. You know, get that hot iron and stick it in there. So if that animal gets lost or someone sees that animal, they look at the branding and they know who it belongs to. But it goes deeper than that. You know, that brand will have, you know, who those farmers are, how they treat their animals, what kind of animals they have. All that will go along with the brand just from seeing a piece of brand on the cattle. It's like a P.F. Chang's brand. You can kind of know what kind of food to expect. It's going to be Chinese food, and you'll have a good experience. Know it's a bit more upscale than regular Chinese food, compared if you went to like East China Inn or something like that, just down the street from your house. So let's talk about your image. Talk about your brand image next. First impression, you can never change your first impression. You know, you can't control how everyone's going to think about you, but just try to have the best first impression you can. And then you want to think of emotions. What kind of emotions do you bring on people when they think of your brand or when they think of your music? Think of your reputation. What kind of reputation do you have? Are you a hard worker? Do you go on rants? You think about a Kanye West and think about his reputation, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about. What are your beliefs? What do you engage in? You know, all these things go into your image. Now, good examples of this, and I'll put up a picture on the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But think about the Kardashians and think about their image, and think about what kind of emotions spark up when you're thinking about them. I've asked this question before in a room full of people, and a lot of people said irritation. They said they're indifferent, they get angry, and most people know them from the show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians. But a lot of people don't know about their other things. Not everyone knows about their makeup lines. I would say Kylie Jenner is the most famous for her makeup lines. They also have a clothing line, but these things are not well branded like their show. And right here we got Paris coming up, and the Bellagio over there. Full of brands down here, full of different companies. That's why I came on the strip to show you guys this. There's a lot of casinos, there's a ton of resorts, but how do they differentiate themselves from each other? What's the difference between them? What are you going to get at Caesars you're not going to get at Paris? What are you going to get at Paris you're not going to get at the Bellagio? What about MGM? So this is what this is supposed to be doing for you guys. So now we're going to talk about building your brands. As we pass some guys here dancing, show you a little bit of the show. now we're going to go into how to build your brand. How do you actually build it? Well, then one thing I hear people say all the time, especially for musicians, is you have to be original. Don't copy people. Come out with something new. It's not entirely true, meaning it's not as hard as you think it might be. All right, guys, I had to get a little bit more space. So right now we're in Bally's, the area of Bally's. This place is called the Bazaar Shops, and this is an area where there's a lot of different companies here, small companies, big companies. So I'm going to walk through here and kind of talk to you guys about how to be original. So again, originality. It's not nearly as hard as what you think it would be. The thing about it is you're already original because you're yourself. There's not more than one of you. Now, what you have to do though is still differentiate yourself from other people. So you want to try to be unique and do something a little bit different than everybody else. But as far as being original, you are yourself. So you don't really have to worry about that. Focus on being consistent and being visible, meaning being active on social media, being active face-to-face, meeting with your fans, being active, being seen, and do it consistently. Consistently post, consistently get out your message, push your music, so people really understand who you are and where you're coming from. The most important thing is developing your skills. You want to make sure that you're good at what you do. I guess for music-wise, being good doesn't always have to, it's kind of objective, different kinds of music. But you just want to make sure you do what you do the best of your ability, and you always practice. Stay consistent and visible, and that's how you'll build up your brand. And then one day you can make it in some place like Las Vegas, or in LA, or in Hollywood, something similar. All right, guys, I'm gonna end it off here, walking past the Bellagio fountains. But I want to end off with a few key points. The first thing is you got to give people a reason to want to follow you. Give them a reason to like your pages and to get into your music and your brand. You have to put out great content all the time. So don't really stress about that, especially being a musician. It's very easy. You have behind the scenes footage of you in the studio. You can have any of your shows you do setups of your home studio. You know, anything. There's tons of stuff that you can do to provide content to your fans. Very simple, very easy. Try doing funny quotes. Adding funny quotes to your Twitter page, or pushing it out on your Facebook, stuff like that. Motivational quotes. People love those kind of things. That's why we have them on innovative.com. That's why you see it on our Twitter page. You also want to make sure you have just really good pictures, really good videos. Use those filters. I mean, nowadays the filters make pretty much any picture look professional. So make sure you use the filters on your Instagram, make it look good. You know, there's no such thing as the overnight success. People talk about that all the time. They say, oh, they were overnight success, overnight sensation. It's not true. Most likely it just happened, you just happened to get to know them overnight. But that was probably a 10-year span. What's up, Spidey? There's probably a 10-year span of them working hard and them really learning and perfecting their craft, and you just happen to hear about them at this time. So just keep going, just keep working, and eventually people will catch on to you, they'll find you. And once they find you, keep that content out. Monitor your stats any way you can, whether that be Google Analytics, using the stats in Facebook, the stats in Instagram, or your Twitter, or your YouTube. Any type of data that you can get about who's watching you, where they're watching, where they're listening, where they're buying. Use those stats, and you want to make sure that you use those correct way. So if you have a bigger fan base in a certain area, then push out content there. If you're not, let's say you're not big in Hawaii, but you want to be bigger in Hawaii, well, look in that area to see how your content's going. But the last thing I'll end off here, right outside of Paris and Planet Hollywood, is don't forget that you are the brand. So again, it's very simple. Branding is what people think about you when you're not looking, when you're not in the room. Whatever they say about you, that is your brand to them. And do what you can to build it. Just be yourself, and remember that you are the brand. Check out innovative.com. We have a lot of blogs going out for you guys for more content. And check out the detailed blog about this one. This goes way more in depth, but wanted to keep this short. All right, so I'll talk to you guys later, and look out for our next video. See ya.